Well, I guess we can call the meeting to order. The organization meeting will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Paul, Frank Wilk.
Here.
Bruce Steigelwald.
Here.
Carrie Drasco.
Here.
Sean Haggerty.
Here.
Tom Nanovic, he indicated he wouldn't be here. And Natalie Haggerty, Secretary Treasurer, John Lazoric, President. Okay, we will open with looking for a motion and a second to appoint a temporary secretary. I'll make the motion to assign Natalie Haggerty as the temporary secretary. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. All right, appointment of a temporary chairman to receive nominations for the permanent position of chairman. I'll make the motion, we can appoint Natalie as the temporary chair.
I don't think you can.
What?
It doesn't have to be a supervisor.
It might have to be someone other supervisor. I'll retract that
Just
motion. Somebody else want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion to appoint John as temporary chairman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for nomination, temporary chair. Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And motion carries. Looking for a motion and a second to nominate chairman for 2015.
Make a motion to nominate John Lazoric as chairman. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I guess I need to abstain. Okay, next item. I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to appoint the secretary treasurer for 2015.
Make a motion to appoint Natalie Haggerty as the secretary treasurer for 2015.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And the motion carries. We have one abstention, Mr. Haggerty. All right, looking for a motion and a second to set the rate of pay and benefits for the secretary treasurer.
I'll make a motion, with the same increase that, was it 3%?
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. We got a motion and a second to assign the rate of pay, which would be the current rate of 2017 plus 3%, and the benefits that are set forth in the 209 terms and conditions for the secretary treasurer. Any
Do we need a
discussion?
number in that blank, or is the percentage?
The percentages.
Any discussion?
When we talked about this before, we talked about 3.5%, which would be 70 cents.
We have a motion for the 3%. Is there any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Abstain.
We have 2 affirmative, 2 negative. Motion does not pass.
I make a motion to increase her rate by 3.5%, which would be 70 cents for the new year.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Affirmative 4, we have 1 abstention, motion carries.
Thank you.
Looking for a motion and a second to nominate vice chairman.
Make a motion to nominate Frank Rook, vice chairman.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Franklin Rook as vice chairman. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have 4 affirmative votes and 1 abstention. Okay, I make a motion and looking for a second to appoint legal counsel for the Mahoning Township Board of Supervisors.
I make the motion that we appoint Nanovic Law Offices as our solicitor, specifically Tom Nanovic.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. All right, I'm looking for a motion and a second to appoint LPL as the township engineers.
So moved.
We got a motion by Mr. Bruce Steigelwald, looking for a second.
I'll second.
We have a second with Carrie DeRastro. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to appoint the following officers as part-time officers from the Mahoning Township. It will be Christopher Ritter, Gabriel Zajda, Joe Gullah, Dane O'Brien, and Kyle Kohler. The current rate is $15.97.
I'll make a motion, we appoint him at the budgeted rate.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint the above-named officers as part-time for 2015 at the rate of $16.50. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question. Has Christopher Ritter worked at all this past year?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Not often, but probably
Perhaps a shift.
once or twice a month.
A shift or two a month, okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. All right, we're looking for a motion in a second to appoint the supervisors to oversee the police department.
I'll make the motion that we appoint John and Carrie to the police committee again this past year.
Second.
You would do that?
Is there no interest in others to oversee?
He wouldn't want me to oversee. I don't want to be the mayor.
All right, we have a motion and I believe a second to appoint John Wazorek and Kerry Verashbro as supervisors overseeing the police department. Is there any other discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I don't know if there's any reason that we will abstain. Throw a whole ball.
Aw.
Well, no.
All right. Did we cast a vote for the
Yes.
supervisors? Okay, next order of business, appointment of a zoning officer, setting the rate of $500 a month, current rate. Looking for a motion.
And I'll make the motion that we appoint Carl Faust as our zoning officer. Did he indicate that what rate he would work for, Natalie?
I shared with him the current rate of pay.
And he was happy with that?
Yeah.
Then at the current rate of pay.
So we got a motion by Mr. Bruce Daggerwalt. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Kerry Verestro. Any further discussion of appointing Carl Faust as the zoning officer?
Anybody know anything about the others that applied? I know about the one. I don't know anything about the other guy. Is he one somewhere? Was he one somewhere?
There was
Not to my
one-
knowledge.
One that did some part-time work for Summit Hill. And the other, I'm not sure if he does
Well,
any.
the other was down Perryville and some other places.
Lady.
Harryville, Palmerton, Lower Tomensing.
I knew his Perryville, I didn't know if he was in it. The other one did some part-time.
And in the height many years ago.
Didn't you guys interview him?
I wouldn't have a problem with him if but you already have a motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Nobody has an issue with the building code official and the zoning officer being the same person.
Did you guys interview the other people?
Probably asked Tom that, huh? Didn't think of that.
Did you guys interview anybody else for the job?
I think you're out of order. in-
Oh, I thought you said any discussion.
Pardon?
I thought you said any discussion.
For us.
Oh, for you, okay, sorry.
Any involvement that I've had personally with Carl Faust found to be helpful as far as the business in the township. He had guided us through some of the do's and don'ts, and we put up the pole barn. More than helpful, and even getting us started as to what would have been required. And how we'd go about it.
I guess the question was though, is there a problem with them being both in the township? No? Okay.
I think he's both in 2 or 3 other townships.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. All right, I'll make the motion, looking for a second to appoint supervisors to oversee the road crew. I would make the motion including Franklin Rook and Bruce Steigerwald, who serve presently.
Second it.
You're a little quick there. I was gonna say, unless you wanna get on that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. All right, the next item is setting the rate of pay for the part-time road department. It's currently $15 an hour. I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to set the rate of $15 for part-time road department workers, which currently is Brian Reeser and Barry Fisher.
Second.
Bruce.
Who's second?
Bruce. We get a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, he's not including the fellow from up here in Beaver Run this year? No?
Who was that?
The guy with the skid motor.
Bob Ketchup.
Bobcat Joe.
Bobcat Joe,
I know who you're talking about, I can't think of his name now.
McKinley.
Yeah, Joey McGinley.
Yes, thank you.
That's what we call him.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Did we have we had an application though for another part-time worker, didn't we, or was he looking for full-time?
Part-time.
Part-time. And we just haven't had an opportunity to interview him. Do we need another one?
Road department.
Part-time.
I guess we can ask Ron. Probably don't hurt to interview him and
We could add,
put him on the list.
Yeah.
Make it
It doesn't hurt to have him on the list, I guess. But we definitely want to sit with him first, Bruce.
Absolutely.
okay, we got a motion and a second to set the rate of pay at $15 for the part-time road department workers, Brian Reeser and Barry Fisher.
We already voted. I think I just asked the question after the fact.
All right. Next item, looking for a motion and a second to approve affirmation of supervisors who are authorized to work when needed.
So moved.
We got a motion from Mr. Franklin Walk, looking for a second. Second from Sean Haggerty. Not that it adds anything, but comment, I think it was in the latest edition of the PSAT's newspaper?
Township News.
Township News, that we were always of the idea that anybody can drive a snowplow if there's a state of an emergency declared. And I read that article, it doesn't make any reference, you need a CDL.
Absolutely.
Do you remember any of that?
Oh, yeah, okay, I see what you're doing.
Oh, see, I said I'm nice and I'm a little slower, but I got it now.
But even when that controversy was ongoing, I had made mention that don't call me until after Don Blocker and refused. But in any event, it didn't say anything about anybody driving any kind of equipment in an emergency. You got the motion and a second, any discussion?
You know, are we affirming that any supervisor can, all supervisors can? Is that what we're saying? Okay.
And that's for anything from
Being a flag man or
road crew
whatever.
to doing payroll. So let me know when you want me to do that.
We're answering the phones. We're answering the phones.
Well, I think in the event that there was something that came up that somebody on the board could work at, it was approved at a meeting.
I don't paint well. So don't call me if you have to paint.
Well, anyway, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Recommendation to the Board of Auditors, the rate of pay for working supervisors.
I'll make a motion, we set it the same as part-time road crew salary.
Second.
I was trying to find it, I was looking up here. Do you know offhand what it said?
We got a motion and a second to recommend to the Board of Auditors the rate of pay for working supervisors to be the same as the part-time road crew. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a correct notice to the auditor board that we made that recommendation?
Yeah, I prepare their agenda and I let them know what the Board of Supervisors recommended.
Okay.
And then they take it from there.
Thank you. Okay, I'll make the motion and looking for a second to appoint Mr. Ronald Reeser as the Mahoning Township Encroachment Officer.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. The next item, I'll make the motion and looking for a second to appoint as Mahoning Township Sewage Enforcement Officer the current Lehigh Soils and Wetlands, Scott Bieber.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, the next item is I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to appoint William Breyer as the Mahoning Township Alternate Sewage Enforcement Officer.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Natalie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the past year we hadn't used any of the alternate. Is that right?
I don't believe so this past year, because it's been kind of slow. The year before we did.
All right. Looking for a motion and a second to approve Debbie Binder, who is the current Emergency Management Coordinator.
I'll make the motion.
We got a motion from Mr. Franklin Rupp. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Haggerty. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. Did anybody reach out to her?
I did.
And she indicated she would?
Okay, now, the follow-up to that question is, I'm not sure if that position has to live in the township.
I don't know. She did at one point,
But
and
she's
I know
not
she
now.
moved out.
Right.
I
So
think we
that's,
went through this before.
Yeah, I thought there wasn't any requirement.
We wouldn't have gone through this before because when we appointed her last year, she lived in the township.
I don't think so. She hasn't lived there for a while.
Hasn't she?
I thought she just moved this year. I don't remember discussing that. I'd like if we,
I communicate the email.
I'd like to find that out from Tom or someone.
Okay.
I don't know if Tom would know, maybe somebody at the comm center or emergency management, what's her name?
Mark.
Where does she live?
Nestle-Honing, I believe.
Ooh.
Maybe Mark Nelesnik would know, up there at the comm center.
She does a good job.
Mm-hmm.
She does a really good job.
That's why I was disappointed here she moved. I wasn't sure, so if we could just find out about that.
I think that was last year, I think we had that question before, and I think it came back that it didn't need to be a resident.
I just don't remember discussing her not living, I could be wrong.
Do you still want to keep your motion?
Yeah, I'll keep the motion and we can always change it if we have to, but I'd like if we ask the question.
Sure. Is there a second to that?
I did.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, which is contingent on the residency ruling. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, we're looking at the next item is the appointment of a chief administrative officer.
I'll make the motion to keep it the chairman of the board.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second to appoint John Wazorek, Mahoning Township Chief Administrative Officer. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. All right, I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to appoint Mr. Eugene Durgan as chairman of the vacancy board.
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Bruce Steigerwald. Is there any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item, I'll make the motion and looking for a second to appoint Robert Slaw to the Mahoning Township Planning Commission.
Second that.
Motion. His term would have expired and he had agreed at least to serve an additional year.
4 years.
Additional term, I'm sorry. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And the motion carries. Okay, next item. I'll make the motion and looking for a second to appoint Mr. Roy Liebenguth to the Mahoning Township Zoning Hearing Board. He has agreed to that assignment.
Second. Kathy didn't want to do it anymore.
Is there any discussion?
That's a lot.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. These are appointments to the municipal authority. It would be Pauline Hum, who would be appointed to a term which expired in January 2020. David Heinzelman is appointed for a term which would expire on January 2017. and the appointment of Charles Item to a term which would expire in 2019. Okay, I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to appoint Pauline Hum to the Mahoning Township Municipal Authority. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sean Haggerty. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. The other members are Timothy Eckhart, and who's the other one? Oh, Kristen Simmons. None of those individuals are on our, or on the public sewer system.
Where does David Hanselman
He is
reside?
up the back.
He lives on the Mahoning Heights. You
Yeah,
know,
he
doesn't-
lives up the back behind the
Yeah.
butcher shop.
But none of these individuals are individuals who are served by our sewer system. I would think it would be
Seems
important that we should have at least one or two people who are being served by the sewer system to be on that authority. And the other thing I would think would be important, because I saw that letter from Attorney Heinzelman that said that they made appointments to fill terms of people that have passed away and didn't come back to the board to fill those positions. I would think it should be important that we have someone from the board on that municipal authority to be able to report back to the board what's going on.
Yeah, I guess I read that same letter from Holly, and I was confused as to how she interprets that if it's simply a vacancy, they fill it. And how would we ever approve it if we don't even know there's a vacancy to begin with?
Yeah. That's my concerns are that no one that is on our sewer system is on that authority. Everybody that's on there is on their own on-lot septic system.
Do you want to wait to approve these?
Well, their meetings are
The third Wednesday.
the third Wednesday. I don't know. I'm looking at Sean.
I hear what you're saying.
He doesn't have a position. I really.
Yeah, I do. I got two other ones.
I
The only reason I'm
understand.
asking- the only reason I'm asking you, Bruce, is because once we approve these, they're until 2019,
Well,
2020, 2017.
Well, no, yeah. January 2016, Tim Eckhart would be up for one more year, for this year. Then he'd have to be reappointed next year.
Yeah, but I'm saying about if we want to wait to appoint these three.
Yeah. Yeah. But they're already serving, is what I'm getting at. We're just like apparently affirming their selection to the authority. I'm just,
That doesn't make any sense. Then if we're doing that, if they're already serving in this, we're just reaffirming, why aren't we reaffirming all five?
well, I think they've all of those have been on the board this past year. And have made decisions.
But these are
and
for
voted.
new terms.
No. No.
No one's in return.
Well then why are we approving, I'm really confused. Why are
Me
we,
too.
why are we approving some in the middle of terms and not others in the middle of terms?
Because apparently they weren't done at the time that it was appropriate to do that. In other words, probably someone, I'm going to say probably Kristen Simmons, may be filling Joanne's. One of them is filling Joanne Swarchek's term. Now, she's been gone for a number of years. Ernie Eachus, I think, passed away two years ago. Now, he was on the system. He was up in Packerton. So he was on this, he was the member that was on,
Yes.
that was being served by the system.
Well, if it's all right with the person who made the motion in a second, I'd like to wait till Wednesday night and talk with our solicitor. we didn't vote yet, that's what I'm saying, I'm asking if it's all right with the guys that make the motions.
Yeah, I have no qualms about retracting the motion.
I'm just questioning, you know,
But I guess there's more questions that, well, since we got that letter, in terms of making appointments
at the
to
appropriate
fill
times.
out for a vacancy is, in other instances, it's at least only until the next municipal election. But in this case, they're not elected.
No, they're appointed by the Board of Supervisors.
I understand that. But when you would talk about, I know we had the issue with Mr. Ida. When they, on their own, appointed him to that authority. We got into some argument that they don't have that authority, that's the Board of Supervisors. But yet, it doesn't seem like,
Well, that's why I'd like to wait and talk to Tom, because if that's the case, maybe they can appoint to fill out till the end of the year. Then we can appoint here. They would have just appointed a mid-year to fill out till the end of the year. Now we can appoint. That's what I want to check with Tom.
Yeah.
What's the procedure?
I will
Yeah.
retract. Hold on.
Yeah, but neither one of them was appointed this past year. These people that they're filling those positions have been gone for two or more years.
Okay,
But
maybe we can get
it-
some answers.
unfortunately, you know, I didn't, and maybe I should have, and we all should have, gone back and looked at the agreement that established the municipal authority and see what that document says about filling vacancies and making appointments.
Maybe, you already writing it down. Maybe you give Tom a heads up so he's ready for Wednesday night.
I guess if you would even send along that letter from Holly.
I think, was Bernie Miskowski, I think he was on it at one time.
Yeah.
And I think he is served by by the sewer system, because he's right on Mahoney Drive there by
He's on
Interstate.
Yeah, David lives right up behind him, but he's down on
He's down on the highway, and I think he's connected. Like I say, I don't have a problem with any of the individuals. It's just, you know, my thought is we should have someone that is
Oh, I
a
agree.
customer.
I agree, Bruce, I have no problem with any of them they have on, but I'd just like to get the procedure straight.
Yeah.
And I agree with both your points, somebody that's served by it and somebody from the board.
Not, I don't think any of us are on the system.
None
None of us are on the system,
Somebody else is on the system.
but it's still good to have someone.
Do you have any relatives that are?
No, all my relatives have private septics and my brother lives in the Heights Borough.
All right, we will retract that motion and take some guidance from the solicitor and hopefully deal with it on Wednesday. All right, we got a next item of business, appointment of the building code official. And I'll make the motion, looking for a second to appoint Carl Faust to Blue Mountain Inspection Services as Mahoney Township's VCO.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're looking for appointment of a solicitor for the planning commission.
I'll make the motion, we appoint Nanovic Law Firm.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Nanovic as solicitor, Tom Nanovic as the solicitor for the Mahoney Township Planning Commission. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And the motion carries. The next item would be appointing a solicitor for the zoning hearing board, currently Strubinger Law Office.
I'll make the motion, appoint Strubinger, Mahoning Township Zoning Hearing Board.
Looking for a second.
I'll second for discussion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, is there any discussion?
Yeah, this is who it's been, okay? Were they, I mean, we had some problems with, did Tom let them know we were unhappy and,
Corrected it.
With Angela.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other discussion? I'm sorry, who's second?
Yeah, the only question is, do we appoint them, or does the zoning hearing board come back with a recommendation?
They might,
Who they want for
well,
their...
they might give a recommendation, but we still appoint.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second to appoint the Strubinger Law Office as solicitor for the Mahoning Township Zoning Hearing Board. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item is setting the rate of pay for the zoning hearing board secretary. Looking for a motion and a second to set the rate of pay at $85 a month, the current rate for the zoning hearing board secretary.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion by Mr. Franklin Rook, second by Sean Haggerty. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, we're looking for a motion and a second to set the rate of pay at $95 a month for the Planning Commission reporting secretary.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
We have 4 affirmative and 1 abstention. Motion carries. Right, the next item, appointment of a representative to the Lehigh Canal Recreation Commission.
I'll make a motion, we keep it, whoever it is now.
That would have been my question for discussion.
I don't think they've had many meetings.
I was gonna say, I don't see much, so it's kind of tough to know.
Well, they do. They meet from April through October. And I think the last meeting we had was in the library, and the one before that was for their public hearing for the bridge into Jim Thorpe across the river. Sean, are you sure you wouldn't like to do that?
I got enough hats I'm wearing right now.
Okay.
No,
I think
really.
Bruce is,
Okay.
right?
We have a second.
I'll second. I'll do you that favor.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint Mr. Bruce Steigerwald as the representative to the Lehigh Canal Recreation Commission. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No?
Is that, you meant an abstention?
No.
Well, in any event, motion carried. Next item is, I'm looking for a motion and a second to appoint a representative and an alternate to the Carbon County Tax Committee.
I'll make a motion, we keep it John, and we can make Sean the alternate.
That's fine. I'll second.
was left.
Oh, were you the alternate, Natalie?
That's okay.
Your name's coming up
You're
next.
coming, your name's coming up next, right?
Can I amend that to say Sean or Natalie Haggard? But anyway, we have a motion and a second to appoint John Lazurick and Sean Haggerty as the alternate to the Carbon County Tax Committee. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, looking for a motion and a second to appoint a representative to the Carbon County Home Health Care Advisory Board.
I'll make a motion to appoint Natalie.
I'll second the motion to approve Natalie Haggerty as the representative to the Carbon County Home Health Care Advisory Board. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, the next item, I'm looking for a motion and a second to appoint someone as the voting delegate to the PSAT State Convention on April 19th to the 22nd.
Are you going?
Who's interested in going?
I'd like to go.
I was gonna say, I'll
Or are
go
you going,
again
Frank?
if nobody does it, but if somebody else wants to
I'd
go.
like to go, but I can't go for all 3 days. I really wanna go out to it, but I can't go out for all 3 days.
You can go out for a day, you can go out for a day.
We're gonna go out for one day. I'd like to go for one day as well, if anybody.
And if nobody else wants to be, I'll still be the voting delegate if that's the pleasure of the board.
Can Bruce indicate he wanted to go?
Do you wanna do that, Bruce?
I'll do it. If you don't, that's why I say, I'll do it if you don't want to.
That's fine.
Because I'm not going to the engineers
I was gonna say, because
seminar
I was
this year.
just wondering, because that voting interferes with your,
Yeah, but I got my hours, I don't need
okay,
to go.
no, that's fine, let Bruce do it then, yep.
Do I get to carry a yes, no?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I'll make a motion to appoint Bruce as the voting delegate to the PSATS convention.
I'll second it.
You realize I vote no on everything.
Do we need to, at this point, indicate that Bruce would be our voting delegate and potentially that you and Natalie would go for a day?
Are you going, Frank? Are you going to do that, Frank?
Well, if you're gonna do the voting, I'll check and see if I can get those days off, because I can't, I have to get my vacation now approved. I
Okay.
can't just tell them I'm off.
I enjoy going to the seminars because it's well worth it.
Yeah, the breakout sessions,
Yes,
I enjoy sitting in on those. If I can get off, I'll probably go out.
okay.
So we'll talk on Wednesday,
Mhm.
so that I can get everybody registered.
So we don't, holding off on that, or?
No, this one
No.
we can vote on, this is our voting delegate, this is Bruce.
Okay, we got a motion by Kerry and a second by Sean to appoint Bruce Steigerwald as the voting delegate at the PSAT State Convention. Any further discussion?
John, you don't want to go, do you?
No,
You had indicated you wanted to go the other year.
no, I was out one year.
You were out 1 year.
No,
Carrie,
you're fine.
do you wanna go? Do you wanna go one day with us?
You don't know that I can go.
Okay.
We'll get your permission slip.
But do you have to, question, do you have to register?
I have to look into it for one
Or-
day.
Or, I think you can go out and just walk through the displays.
You can just go out without registering and walk through the displays, but if Sean wants to sit in on any of those breakout meetings, you
Yeah.
might have
We
to be.
We wanna see which day is more geared to the, us.
Yeah, that's what I mean, so you probably gotta be registered to get in those.
Yeah, I'll look at them.
Well, like I said, we have a motion and a second to appoint Bruce as the voting delegate. That's all we're doing right now. Is there any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make, it would be appropriate at this point in time to make a motion to allow or to authorize anyone who wants to go to the PSATS convention to go.
I would second that motion.
So if you can find that you can get away, if you want to go out for a day,
When do you need to be registered by?
Registration opens on
Opens
the
next
8th.
week?
The 8th.
Oh, the 8th already.
So, I mean, if you're picky choosy and you're somebody that, you know, is staying and you like the Hershey Lodge, then you need to notify me. Bruce, wherever, you know, I'll give you the information again, wherever you.
well, we
want
always go to
stay.
the Comfort Suite.
Yeah.
It's a
And
lot
we're just
cheaper
doing
than the
one day,
Hershey.
so we're not gonna
It's-
stay there
Yeah,
late.
Bruce can do that because his wife drops him off. I like to stay there because parking and traffic.
They have a shuttle.
I can walk.
No, they have a shuttle. They have a shuttle right from the hotel to the PSATS convention.
Whatever we do, we should make the reservations for the room in Frank's name. Because every year that he got
He
involved.
gets it.
He gets
got
it.
in.
Yeah, but
Roll out of bed. he's at
but
the
they don't have a
convention.
lottery system this year.
No, it's,
It's first come, first served after a certain date.
so you have to warm your fingers up on the 8th.
I don't even think it's the 8th, I think it's later.
No, it's the 8th.
Oh, it's
For
not
the
just
rooms?
registration. Rooms
That's
is
just
later.
registration for the
The
conservation,
rooms is later.
but the rooms come later, I think.
Yeah, but it's still, when it opens up, you have to be typing.
Johnny on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we have a motion and a second to
We voted on that. Oh,
allow any additional board members interested.
yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Who's second?
Motion carries.
French.
Okay, the next item, I'll make the motion and looking for a second to select as a bonding company in the amount of $400,000. Currently, the bond is by Travelers Casualty and Surety of America Insurance in the same amount of $400,000. Does that have to be renewed every year?
Absolutely.
Okay. I made the motion, looking for a second.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second to select the Travelers Casualty and Surety as the bonding company in the amount of $400,000. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, got a I'll make the motion, looking for a second to select PNC Bank Carbon Plaza Mall, who is currently our depository of record, and looking to include that to be the same for 2015 for the township funds, and the number of signatures needed are 3, one being the secretary treasurer.
Second.
We got a motion and a second by Mr. Franklin Rook. Is there any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Again, another recommendation to the Board of the Auditors for mileage reimbursement. This would be, I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to recommend to the Board of Auditors a mileage reimbursement rate of 57.5 cents a mile, which is currently the IRS standard.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to have an equipment and operator rental agreement at the rate of, I believe it's $125 an hour, and a minimum of 2 hours.
I'll second
We got a second from Mr. Rook. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item is to establish as the Board of Supervisors monthly meeting times, dates for the year 2015. Been duly advertised for the first Wednesday of each month at 6 p.m.
So moved.
We have a motion from Mr. Franklin Rook,
Seconded.
second from Mr. Hagerty. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. I vote no simply because I was in favor of the 2 monthly meetings. But be that as it is, the motion carries.
Is that 4 to 1?
Yes. Okay, next item, looking for a motion and a second to establish the third Tuesday of each month, 7 p.m., with the exception of Wednesday, May 20th, as the Planning Commission monthly meeting dates and times.
So moved.
I got a motion by Mr. Sean Hagerty.
Second.
And a second from Mr. Bruce Steigerwald. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to establish the first Tuesday of each month, 7 p.m., with the exception of November 10th, as times for the zoning hearing board monthly meetings, dates and times. Looking for a second.
Second.
We got a second from Mr. Franklin Rook. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This is, I'll make the motion, looking for a second to authorize the tax collector to collect real property tax, streetlight, and fire hydrant assessments for 2015.
Second.
We got a second from Mr. Sean Hagerty. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to authorize Mahoning Township to collect the local enabling taxes for 2015.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, which are those? Is that the,
LST, local service tax. Local service tax. Local service tax.
and the,
Amusement tax.
that's the word I was looking for, and the amusement? Carrie, you second?
Yes, I did.
So it's gonna be LST and amusement.
We had the motion and a second to authorize Mahoning Township to collect the local service taxes and the amusement taxes for 2015. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we got, I'll make the motion, looking for a second to adopt resolution 2015-1, the fee schedule pertaining to building permits.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to adopt resolution 2015-2, the fee schedule pertaining to the zoning hearing board activities.
Second.
We got a motion and a second Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to adopt Resolution 2015-3, the fee schedule pertaining to the Planning Commission.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, we got, I'll make the motion and looking for a second to adopt Resolution 2015-4, the fee schedule pertaining to the suitability testing and issuance of sewage permits.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, the next item, I'll make the motion, looking for a second to adopt Resolution 2015-5, the fee schedule pertaining to zoning permits.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. Okay, I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to adopt Resolution 2015-6, the appointment of Kirk Suma and Company, perform the 2014 audit.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to adopt an agreement with the Mahoning Valley Fire Company, including the fire police and the Mahoning Valley Ambulance Association, due to the changes in the Workmen's Compensation Law, Article 6, titles additional coverage, were added December the 5th, 1974.
Second.
You got it. Franklin, Wilk. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, looking for the adoption of Resolution 2015-7, establishing the fees assembled by Mahoning Township for the issuance of permits and the provision of re-inspection services pursuant to the Mahoning Township Ordinance number 2005-2.
I'll second.
Second by Kerry Rastro. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to adopt Resolution 2015-8, allowing escalator clause for bituminous materials to be included as part of the proposal for small quantities.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. I'll make the motion, looking for a second, to adopt Resolution 2015-9 pertaining inspection services for stormwater management facilities.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. I'll make the motion, looking for a second, for all full-time police officers to continue to make the contribution of 5% to the police pension fund for 2015.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Prior to adjourning, I would like to make a small announcement requesting a short executive session for personnel. I'll look for a motion and a second.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Franklin Rook, seconded by Mr. Sean Haggerty. All in favor of adjournment, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I guess Tom will be here when we come down.
I hope so.
Yeah, he indicated he would be here,
So, yeah, it doesn't matter.
especially retirement.
I was gonna say, he said he'd be here, but he wasn't sure if he was gonna be back.
He's got it.
Is Natalie gonna call Leroy so he shows up for the meeting tomorrow night already? The zoning hearing board.
Yeah.
Finding my pen for
Mr. Pollock, Leroy, and who else is on there?
Catherine,
Catherine, I can't pronounce her last name, it's not Pacific,
Palinchek, Palinchek.
something like that.
How much time did you guys spend reviewing all the stuff before you got to this meeting and prepared for these 50 motions? Collecting data and doing stuff like that. I mean, as a supervisor, do you spend a day, 2 days, 5 days? I mean, how much volunteer time do you guys have to put in to be a supervisor? You got 50 motions.
I never kept track of.
Yeah, you got 50 motions here. I mean, that's a lot to go through in a single day of.
Well, I do it as it comes in. I don't sit down one day and do it.
You don't get it all in one copy.
I know, but I mean, you had a month, right? I mean, or.
I will take the real letter.
Just seemed like there was very little discussion for any of the motions. It pretty much was dogmatic. I mean, it's pretty much a repeat from last year. Pretty trained.
All those things you just read.
Did anybody interview the other applicants for the zoning office at all?
I didn't.
Did anybody? Did you interview anybody? Bruce, right? What's his name? Tom? Chairman. Did you interview anybody for the zoning office other than Carl?
I
Of the applicants?
I did not interview them personally. I made some inquiries, but not interviewed.
Nobody interviewed them?
You too, same time. Is there anything you want to look at right now?
Did you interview anybody? Did you interview any of the three?
I said I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, how about you? Did you interview any of the three?
All right.
It usually works on our
Miss,
website. You have to
did
see
you-
the website.
No.
Sir, you had questions. Did you interview any of the three?
I only had questions about one, I know the other two.
Okay. The Dwayne Belliker's the one that you had questions about? The guy from Perryville and Palmer, is that Dwayne?
That's Dwayne, yeah. I know Dwayne.
Oh, yeah, Dwayne. Who was the other two? The
Carl.
And then
Carrie.
Barry Isaac is the third one?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't get it?
No.
No.
Wasn't the third one.
Who was the third one?
Fella that did some work up in Summer Hill.
And what was his name?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I think I got them all, John.
And you're supervisor as well?
Yes.
Did you interview any of the three?
Not personally.
Did you review, did they give you a resume when you looked at it?
All three did. Take care.
You too.
I will get back to you. I will go tonight, and tomorrow morning I will.
Uh-oh.
You just shoot me an
I will
email.
put in for my
Goes with this.
vacation before they realize.
It goes with that.
Someone's retiring April
Where does this
2nd.
go? Oh, this is,
Because if he's not there,
this is
they're not
sewage,
gonna let
this
me
is a
have
single
off
page.
and
Right, do they know that yet?
single
I don't
page.
think they know yet, I know,
Right,
and
right.
if he's gone, they're not gonna let me have off, because then there'll be nobody.
To cover, yeah, well, who does your job in your absence? Does somebody like to work for you or?
The foreman.
The foreman?
If the foreman's off, then I gotta work day shift, if I'm off, he goes, well, no, he stays day shift, he never has to work my shift.
Right,
But in the summer, we'll go to day shift, so.
Pick a line.
And, well, all the guys come April, middle of March, all the guys are on day shift.
right.
So if he's retired, they won't let me be off, and there'll be nobody.
Cover for you.
Yeah.
Hey Dave,
And once he approves my vacation time, then he'll have to get an assistant from another shift.
Mr. President,
Because
Right.
once he approves it, he can.
can we ask you to relocate? We're gonna look at going into an executive.
Oh, okay,
session.
sure.